Hey guys, so for writing this month, we are going to start with poetry. And I know some of you are thinking, oh, I don't like poetry, I can't do this. But I promise you it's going to be really fun and really easy. And you're going to surprise yourself with what you come up with. But before we get started with any poems, I want to go over some things with you. I want to talk about some elements of poetry, and then I'm going to talk to you about some things called figurative language. And you might recognize some of the words that I use in here. So just pay attention to this little slideshow I have, and we'll be able to get started on our poetry, become poets. All right, so elements of poetry. A poem is a collection of words written to inspire ideas, imagination, or emotion. Okay, so there's a little poem here. I wonder. I wonder how the world would be if I could see the way you see. Would I love it less or hate it more? Could I go back to the way I was before? It's just a quick little poem, okay, and you're going to learn about all types of elements and things that make up different poems. There's also a theme that we see in poems, and the theme of a poem is a truth, a lesson, a message about life. Same thing goes with when we're reading, right? When we talk about themes in stories, themes could be things like friendship and acceptance and being loyal and things like that. Okay, so just as in our reading, we also have themes in poetry. There's also something called the mood. Okay, and in the mood of a poem, it's the feeling that a poet is trying to convey, trying to make you feel. Okay, um, moods could be happy or scary or dangerous or loving. Okay, so take a listen to this poem and think if you can feel the mood. The forest, quietly the forest calls for me to come inside, but as the light is fading fast, I wish instead to hide. Who knows what danger lurks about? Creepy things to make me shout? No, no, I will not go. I will not go inside. I think instead that I would rather find a place to hide. Doesn't it kind of make you feel a little bit like spooky? Okay, that's the mood. And sometimes words in a poem, they can only have just a few words and it can make you feel something that you wouldn't normally think, right? Then we've got something called rhythm. And rhythm is the beat, the sound, and the feel of a poem. Okay? So a lot of times the beat you'll notice with rhyming words in poetry. Now, not every poem we're gonna write is gonna have rhyming words. Okay, it may just be free verse, which is kind of just using whatever you want. Not all poems have to rhyme, but a lot of times when they do, you'll notice that there's a rhythm. So listen to this poem. It's called A Little Seed. A little seed for me to sow, a little earth to make it grow. A little hole, a little pat, a little wish, and that is that. A little sun, a little shower, and in a while, a little flower. So, did you notice that there was kind of like a song to that? I'm sure you could put it into a song and sing it. You know that I'm not a singer, so I won't do that to you. All right, moving on. We're going to get to talking about actual parts of a poem right now. Okay. Um, This is a line, and a line is just a single row of words in a poem. So it's not necessarily just a sentence, but it's just a single line. And single, means one. And let's take a look at this. If you look here, it says, I eat peas with honey. I've done it all my life. It makes the peas taste funny, but it keeps them on the knife. This right here is a line. Okay. Oop, didn't mean to do that. This is a separate line. So in this poem, there are four lines. One, two, three, four. Okay, so a line is just one row of words. Then you've got the meter. Now we're not going to worry too much about meter this time in poetry, but as you get into the higher grades and you learn a little bit more and a little bit deeper into poetry, you will talk about meter. The meters of a poem is the number and style of accented syllables. So we will be using syllables in our haiku poems, and it's a repeated pattern. So we've got Hickory Dickory Dock is a great poem to use for that, right? In that nursery rhyme. Hickory Dickory Dock, the mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck one, the mouse ran down. Hickory Dickory Dock. So that's the repeated pattern, okay? And if you were to clap um, this pattern out, you would be able to do it by, syllables. So hickory dickory dock. Okay, that was 7, right? Hickory is 3, dickory is 3, dock is 1. So we'll talk more about that, especially when we do our haiku poems, on how we use syllables to write different lines. And then we've got rhyme. You all know what rhyming words are, okay? Words that have the same ending sounds. So we think of something like cat and hat, right? Nice and easy rhymes. Let's take a look at this poem. It's called The Man Who Wasn't There. As I was going up the stair, I met a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. Oh, how I'd wish he'd go away. It's just kind of like a weird poem there. But if you pay attention to the rhyming words, we've got stare and there rhyme, and today and away. And this is called a couplet. When there are two lines together and the end word rhymes, it's called a couplet. We'll talk about that too. All right, another element of poetry is a stanza. And a stanza is a group of lines in a poem. Okay, so take a look here. I've got my 4 lines make up this one stanza. It's kind of like a paragraph in poetry. Okay, and then I've got the second stanza that's also made up of 4 lines. So how many stanzas do I have in this poem? 2 stanzas. 4 lines here, 4 lines here. Now, it doesn't have to be 4 lines, it could be any amount of lines, but just know that a stanza is a group of lines in a poem. Okay? So, a poet is the author of a poem, and that can be you. Anyone can be a poet. Okay? That was it. Just a quick little elements of poetry slideshow I wanted to give you before we get started, and just to kind of get your head thinking about it, because we will be starting poetry very soon. All right. Bye.